New act hints hidden inside teasers, the very first confirmed new class of early access, a weapon brand new to Rayclast, a smattering of release date drama and discussion, cool weapon swap tech that might encourage me to finally use it, more support gems, more updated visuals, more race news, more dev interview reminders, and more druid hopes and dreams crushed. Maybe. Path of Exile 2's first major content patch, Dawn of the Hunt, releases in several weeks, and I'm here to wrap all the exciting news up for you into a single video. All the new info is front-loaded, with the release date drama surrounding last Epoch and Path of Exile 2 nearly back. As always, timestamps and sources are in the description below. Hey Exiles, Talkative Try here. Welcome to another Path of Exile 2 video. Yes, I am sick, but I'm doing my best. Like the video if you enjoy it or it's informational, subscribe to the channel for lots more PoE2 content, and watch all the way through if you think this is quality. That is the best way to help the channel grow and signal this is a useful video to more Exiles. Thank you. It has been a little over 10 days since the last news wrap-up video, and since then we've had a massive announcement. Path of Exile 2's first major content patch will arrive on April 4th, which is of course extremely exciting, but has been polarizing for one particular reason we will talk about near the end of the video. Of utmost importance is the fact that this little teaser for Dawn of the Hunt confirmed two things. The fact that we will be getting a brand new class in Path of Exile 2, the Huntress, and presumably alongside her, two Ascendancy classes, and I think even more exciting, the fact that we are getting Path of Exile 2's first new weapon of early access, the Spear and all its associated skills. For those of you who have not been around the Path of Exile 2 hype cycle for very long, you will not know that the Huntress was among one of the first new real things teased for Path of Exile 2 all the way back in 2021 alongside the crossbow. We saw the spear in action, and oh my goodness, back then it looked absolutely phenomenal. The spear, as long as it hasn't changed since those early iterations, and I don't think it has, focuses on something that everyone in ARPGs seems to love: mobility. Yes, that's right. The reason that people love monks right now is really because they're so agile. They feel so good to play, especially because of that quarterstaff. Well, I think spears will exhibit that same sort of play style. They focus on diving quickly into melee combat and diving back out. Their skills, at least the last time we saw them, focused on both ranged and melee, which is of course extremely powerful in a game like Path of Exile 2. I cannot wait for Dawn of the Hunt to hit and for us to be able to use the spear on all the existing classes, because of course, remember, in Path of Exile 2, you are not just locked with a class and its associated weapon. You can use that on any available class. It's going to be very exciting, and I will for sure be in there on April 4th playing the Huntress with spears. Well, that might not be true, because if someone else is added to the game, I might be playing them instead. And that someone is the Druid. Yes, in this little teaser, of course, it's only 25 seconds. We only see the Huntress and the spear, but we also see this dude right here, obviously carrying a spear, obviously looking a lot like the Huntress, but could Grinding Gear Games be hinting toward that other class that I thought was almost 100% confirmed for the first major patch of Path of Exile 2, the Druid and its shape-shifting forms? That is a possibility, but as of right now, we have no confirmation that the Druid is in fact coming. Before early access launched, in an interview with DM and Ghazi, Jonathan did say that the Druid and the Huntress would be the next two classes to be coming to Path of Exile 2 early access. He did not say that they would be coming together, but they would be the next two. Well, we have one of the two currently confirmed. Maybe the Druid will come in 0.3, but given the name of the update, Dawn of the Hunt, I think that there's more than just the Huntress coming that's tied to hunting, animals, beasts, right? Huntress obviously tied in. Druid very much can be tied in with the shape-shifting forms, the bear, the wolf, and form number 3. There's also another mechanic I think just might be coming too. In Path of Exile 1, players will know it well. It's Bestiary, which is a league mechanic that was introduced way back in the early era of 3.0, wherein you hunt down beasts in maps and capture them and use them in crafting recipes to make items. Now, what is currently lacking in Path of Exile 2? Crafting. What is a very basic form of crafting in Path of Exile 1 that could be reformatted a bit for Path of Exile 2? Well, bestiary. And then what else would be brought in alongside this? Well, of course, one of my favorite Path of Exile 1 NPCs, Einhar Frey, which we thought was going to be in Path of Exile 2. It was in that first trailer at ExileCon 2019, but we've not seen him in Path of Exile 2 as of yet, unless you go to PoE2DB and you search for Einhar. He's there, and he has a quest associated with the Crowbow in Path of Exile 2 right now. So my crackpot theory is Dawn of the Hunt introduces the Huntress, hopefully it introduces the Druid, and it will introduce a reformed bestiary for Path of Exile 2, in which you can capture or hunt various beasts or monsters throughout the game and use them in crafting recipes to further expand our repertoire of crafting possibilities in Path of Exile 2, because that is one of the most requested features added upon in PoE 2 right now. People are sincerely asking for more ways to deterministically, or even in random ways, craft items. We just don't have it besides orbs and omens, which are very much not available alongside essences. Bestiary would be a great way to do that. It would also add in a very colorful, funny character in Einhar to PoE 2, and add hopefully more boss fights to the game with these beasts, which is something that Path of Exile 2 absolutely shines in. You can totally call me out when I'm wrong, but I'm really thinking this update, it comes with Bestiary, Huntress, Druid, and maybe one or two other mechanics and some surprises as well. Okay, like I said, I'm not going to be talking about the release date drama until the end of the video. We're going to hop into all of the other news tidbits and teasers we've received since my last update video right now. This first one is a minor quality of life change. You know how you need to find 2 good weapons to make use of the passive skill tree weapon swap feature? Well, in Path of Exile 2 0.2, you no longer will need to do that. You will be able to use one weapon for both sets of passive skill trees. You won't need to find one weapon that's good for passive tree 1 and another weapon that's good for passive tree 2. This is just a minor quality of life feature that will allow more people to actually utilize this feature. And I'm wondering, I'm really curious, guys, did you use this beyond a weapon swap for Blink? I'm going to be real. I did not use this. I've played many hours of PoE 2. I think I'm nearing on about 300 hours of early access, which is absolutely crazy for me. I have 2 kids. Whoa. But I never used this. I didn't. I think in my first playthrough on my monk, you know, when I was in Act 3 or Cruel, I maybe tried to use it, but then I just decided, no, I don't really have a use for this, so I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to use the one passive skill tree. Let me know if you did use it and if it actually worked out. You know, I'm really curious to see if anybody's going to swap to actually using this with this quality of life feature implemented. These next 2 teasers are 2 new support gems, and they are interesting to say the least. And if I'm being honest, I don't know how they work in the Path of Exile 2 of today. This is the very first perfection support, which essentially grants you a buff of up to 15% more damage if you execute a skill multiple times over in succession with a perfect timing score here. And honestly, it's not gonna work beyond this sort of situation, which is very, very rare. Monsters move quick. You're usually not fighting these zombies who move very slowly. You're usually fighting a variety of enemies that move very quickly at you, especially in the end game as well, where they're just rushing at you. They're much faster than the player, and they are much faster than an ability like this. Perhaps it's useful in some bossing scenarios, but I don't really see myself ever using it, even on something like this snipe or a perfect strike. If you can think of a situation, please let me know in the comments below. Remember, I'm not a build master or build tinkerer at all, so maybe there's some niche scenarios where this is absolutely busted. The next one is basically along those lines too, you guys. This is Batter Shout support, which allows you to consume broken armor on enemies to deal damage, Batter Shout damage, but it cannot break armor. Once again, this is very slow, and I don't know if this is how you'd want to consume broken armor on enemies. I don't see how this combos together unless Exiles. Let me play it one more time. There is a massive balance shift in patch 0.2 in which they are slowing down the pace of combat drastically. If they're not doing that, I don't see how either of these 2 support gems fit into the current style of game that they have, especially in Cruel and the end game. maybe there's a case to be made in some areas in Act 1, 2, and 3, those support gems are useful. But even then, I'm a little skeptical. There are many other support gems that you want to use instead of those that just accomplish those goals much better, unless the pace of the game changes and you're more incentivized to use a wider array of skills. It's not where the game is right now. Very curious to see how sweeping these balance and design changes will be in 0.2, and if we'll get more to that place that they claimed they wanted the game to be in all those years of advertisement and talking with us, the players, leading up to the launch of early access. This teaser is really basic. They're just making essences look cooler, and this is one of the updates that they constantly have in their patch notes for Path of Exile 1, and it appears they'll have the same for Path of Exile 2. They are incrementally improving the sound design, the visual effects, and the art of Path of Exile 2. And I would say this is an improvement. I sure hope essences don't just instantly die though anymore, especially in endgame. Okay, we're done with the official teasers. Now here is some deep speculation about whether or not Path of Exile 2's first big patch will add an act to the game, and specifically Act 4. This right here was an old teaser, okay? It's the deepest tower. It's a spirit-born crown, a helmet whose base is currently not in the game. You have to remember, as Act 4, 5, and 6 come out, they will add new item bases to the game, and we won't have those advanced and expert bases dropping in Cruel Act 4, 5, and 6, right? Okay, so where does the Spirit-born crown fit into helmets? Well, on PoE2DB, we actually have all the base types that will be in Path of Exile 2 once the full game is out. We think Spirit-born crown fits right into being in Act 4, okay? Why would they be teasing a Spirit-born crown unique item if Spirit-born crowns weren't going to yet be in the game? So simply, what do I think this is? I think this was their sly way of hinting that Act 4 is indeed coming into the game, and we will be playing Act 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Cruel Acts 2 and 3, perhaps? Maybe Cruel Acts 1 and 2? I really think that they should be adding acts to the game. I think those are the most interesting and most enticing things to be adding to the game, especially for the audience of people who aren't blasting the end game and playing a lot of that. Like myself, I mean, I'm playing a decent chunk of the end game, but I know a lot of people who really enjoyed the campaign experience, and I think they would come back to test the Huntress and test all the new things being added to the game if Act 4 was brought into the game with all of its bosses, its item types, its unique storylines, and all the rest. I do think more than anything, new acts during early access is going to be the most intriguing thing for returning players. Then, as promised, an update on the second race for everyone. Once again, Anger Must took the first place on Warrior, finished at level 28, but the second place was actually a Witch and Infernalist, and the gap between them was much closer. Remember last time it was between 30 and 40 minutes between first and second place, and the top 3 placements were Warriors. Well, this time it was only a 7-minute difference, and Zhao actually cleared the Trial of the Sekimas to become an Infernalist as well. I'm really curious to see how week 3 of the races to kill Doriani will play out. I know this isn't interesting to a lot of people, especially because there aren't rewards for even just participating. And honestly, guys, upon further reflection, I haven't even participated in any of the races. I've chosen to do family things and the like and plan family events, and one of them was sporadic, but the other was just, okay, I'm just gonna plan this and not do the race. I haven't felt the urge to participate because I know I'm just going to get absolutely smashed. I honestly don't even think I could finish as fast as the last placed finisher. Let's see who last place was. I don't even see. Oh, they didn't even finish. Oh gosh, so a lot of people didn't finish. The last timed finisher was 7 hours, 58 minutes. I don't know if I could do it that fast. Do you guys think you could do the race that fast? It would be kind of close, but it would be a complete slog and push for me. I wonder if we go back to that old style of Path of Exile races. And for those of you who don't know, you would be rewarded based on completing a certain objective, and these races would be a lot faster, and everyone, as long as you completed that objective of the race, you would get some sort of reward, however meager. It wouldn't have to be a demigods or anything, but there would be something to showcase that you did participate in the race, and the races weren't as long as this one. You know, Angermus is completing this in 2 hours and 26 minutes with 19 seconds on the clock. I don't think I would be able to complete it in these 7 hours, and not everybody has time to set aside to do that. I obviously do Path of Exile 2, not only for fun, but as somewhat of a side gig at this point. Even I don't think I could set aside that much time from my family to put into a race and practice and then eventually participate on the day with. Are a lot of you guys still feeling the same way? Let me know in the comments below when it comes to racing. Are you gonna watch this final race with Angermus and the rest of the crowd? I really hope that somebody does dethrone him. I'm so sorry, Angermus, but it would be super interesting to see somebody else take that first place for week number 3. Then I wanted to remind everyone once more that I will be having an interview with the Last Epoch developers over at 11th Hour Games on March 21st at 3 p.m. Central Time. This will be with Mike, Judd, and Carve, and we will be focusing on itemization in Last Epoch. Specifically, Last Epoch Season 2, Tombs of the Erased. If you have any questions, I'll do a future video on this, and in my live streams, I'll be curating some questions, but if you have some specific ones you want me to see right now, leave them in the comments below. Additionally, I will be having an interview with Jonathan Rogers of Path of Exile 2 and Grinding Gear Games fame about 0.2 Dawn of the Hunt, after the announcement stream on March 27th and before the actual launch of the update on April 4th. Stay tuned on an exact date and time. And now finally, as promised, let me lay out the state of the Last Epoch versus Path of Exile 2 release date situation, and then my personal opinion. So for those of you who do not know, Last Epoch is another ARPG released by 11th Hour Games. It was in early access for quite some time, and it officially released last year in February. It had exactly one season, one large update before going on hiatus all the way until this year. On April 2nd, it will be receiving its first substantial update in about 9 months. This is titled Season 2, Tombs of the Erased. 11th Hour Games has been going on a tour of the Erased with various content creators. They put a ton of work into this patch. They've completely redone the end game. They've added a bunch of crafting systems. Visual overhauls are happening, class overhauls are happening, and there's just so much packed into this update. This is a smaller team, this is a scrappier team, and they have been pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into making the best possible update the past 9 months for ARPG players of all types, but specifically in the areas wherein they thought their game was lacking most. That is the end game in particular. The consensus is this update looks rad. On February 7th, Last Epoch announced they would launch their second season on April 2nd at 11 a.m. CST. Now, let's move to Path of Exile 2. On February 19th, the Grinding Gear Games developers announced they would be releasing their 0.2 mega patch in approximately 1 month. And just a few days ago, on March 11th, they announced that it would launch on April 4th. Of course, everyone should see what's happening here. April 4th is when PoE 2 launches, and 2 days earlier on April 2nd is when Last Epoch launches its second season. These are both ARPGs. A lot of people who play Path of Exile 2 also play Last Epoch, and a lot of players are now upset that their release dates are so close together. And as someone who plays both games, I mean, I can say it. Everybody agrees with this, I'm pretty sure. It sucks. It really does suck that the release dates are so close together, especially if you are strapped for time and can really only dedicate yourself to a single game at a time. The initial launch period is really when you feel amazing playing these games because there's so much hype around it. There's so many other people playing, right? And now with Last Epoch and PoE 2 having their launch dates so close together, you're only going to be able to really dedicate your time to a single game if this is something you do as a hobby or just on the side like myself. So I think that's a fact that everyone can agree on. This sucks. Then we get into the next part of it. And this is where I do disagree with some people. Yes, Grinding Gear Games chose to launch on April 4th after they saw and knew about the April 2nd launch date for Last Epoch. Does that mean they are dirty? Are they scummy? Are they bullying 11th Hour Games? Lots of people are saying yes, they are, and that this was a very bad, mean move by Grinding Gear Games to launch their huge update 2 days after Last Epoch. It's obviously going to draw away players. It's going to cost EHG money in terms of both those players and whether or not they'll spend money on Last Epoch supporter packs or Path of Exile 2 supporter packs, and content creators will move away from Last Epoch and play Path of Exile 2. And this, in general, was just a horrendous move by GGG, and it was mean-spirited. People just think that Grinding Gear Games was the bully, and that this was a bad move from them to set their launch date 2 days after the launch of EHG's Last Epoch Season 2. Do I agree with that? While I can agree that it totally sucks that this is happening, I don't think I can fully agree with Grinding Gear Games doing this maliciously. If we go back to that February 19th announcement where GGG are saying, yeah, we want to launch point 2 approximately 1 month from now, right? That would put it in mid-March. Obviously, some things happen that push this update back a week and another week and another week, right? All the way up to April 4th, which is a Friday. They always launch on Fridays here in the United States. Everyone has to remember something here too. Grinding Gear Games, people have been begging for an update for months now. I don't think they wanted to wait this long for an update. My theory is they wanted to get point 2 out in February. We are mid-March right now, and the update's going to be the first week of April. I think February is when they wanted to get that initial patch out. They did not expect they needed to do so much work on Path of Exile 2 to get this next patch out and to fix things that were ongoing. Then they had the Path of Exile 1 event, which I know they said they didn't take a lot of developer resources off PoE 2 for. Might be true, might not be true. We'll have to see. They want to get an update out fast. And obviously, they picked April 4th. Did they do so maliciously? I don't think so. Did they pick the date knowing that Last Epoch Season 2 was launching on April 2nd and knowing that their choice of picking that date would massively negatively impact Last Epoch? I mean, I'm 90%, 95, 98% sure they knew that and they made that call. Does that make them a bully? I don't think so. Gotta remember, they are now competitors. And even though they are very friendly with each other, EHG and GGG talk, they complement each other's games. If GGG has a few choices, right? They push out the update too early and a bunch of stuff is broken. They can't do that. They delay their update past when their competition is pushing out this massive, awesome update. And they're going to have people off on holiday and PTO and not enough people to fix fires. They can't do that. So the next choice is launching it right alongside their competition's date. I think that that was an intentional move from them, but it was also a move that they were kind of forced into. And yes, it sucks. Okay, what's the next part of this? Yes. Will I be playing Last Epoch or will I be playing Path of Exile 2? I'm going to be truthful. I know a lot of people are saying they're going to be playing Last Epoch instead of PoE 2 when it comes out. I will be playing Last Epoch. I'll be blasting it, playing it day 1, day 2, the Wednesday and the Thursday. And then on Friday, I will in fact be playing Path of Exile 2. Unless it's just no fun, which I don't think so. I'm going to play the game that is more fun for me. I'm not going to play, one game or another to take a stance, whatever. I'm just going to play what I find the most fun. And if that's what you guys want to do, you can do that. Or if you want to make a statement and play Last Epoch instead to stick it to GGG, I encourage you to do that too. It's totally your choice. Remember, these are games, you guys. They're games. Do what gives you the most enjoyment. And I'm sorry, I can't sit here and tell you I'm going to play Last Epoch or mix up my play. I'm probably just going to play Path of Exile 2. And maybe once I get bored of PoE 2 with the Huntress, the Spear, and please Druid, Act 4, then I'll hop on over to Last Epoch because it really does seem like they are kicking butt with this update. I also saw a few people talking about Tencent owning 20% or 25% of 11th Hour Games and 100% of GGG, and how, why would they let this happen? What's going on here? Oh, maybe they did it to sabotage EHG, so now they can buy more of EHG and own the entire company. No, I don't think that's happening. I think that's conspiracy theory. I think that Tencent is very hands-off with EHG and GGG, even though, you know, GGG makes them a ton of money. They're not dictating their release dates. I think they're just letting GGG decide that. I think this was 100% a grinding your games decision, and I think they knew that this would massively impact last Epoch, which is the worst thing of all. I know lots of people are complaining about, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to play both games. I'm going to have to pick between PoE2 or last Epoch, or people with a lot of time. They said, okay, I can play both games. That's totally fine. I can bounce between them. I think the worst thing that is happening here, and I just haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but I think the worst thing that's happening here, that's not a first world problem, because that's what this is, you guys. Let's be honest. We're upset about video games releasing too close to each other, okay? The worst thing that's going to happen out of this is the fact that the 11th Hour developers, the last Epoch developers, are going to lose out on a lot of potential revenue because Path of Exile 2's update is coming so close. It's probably going to have supporter packs, and people who would have maybe played last Epoch and bought those supporter packs, or maybe bought some cosmetics in last Epoch, and then if, you know, PoE2 launched a month later, they would have bought that stuff in PoE2. Now they're going to have to make the choice. Do I spend money on last Epoch? Do I spend money on PoE2? And I think that's the suckiest thing of all, that the last Epoch devs are going to take a big financial hit because of this. And it's only because of this. I think their update looks great. I truly do. This is definitely taking the wind out of their sails, okay? And it's terrible. Oh, I forgot to mention, I've also lost friends over this. How could you, Aaron? How could you? That's just a joke, by the way. Aaron and I are great friends. Okay, maybe just good friends. Okay, maybe we're just acquaintances because I like PoE2 so much. You're gonna have to ask him. I also don't want to understate the amount of support that the last Epoch developers seem to be getting here from the greater ARPG community. Even this channel's audience, which is primarily Path of Exile 2 players, right? In response to this poll, 21% of people said that they would continue playing last Epoch even after the Path of Exile 2 update hits. And if you go into the comments of any content creator or any forum across Reddit, or Twitter, or Facebook, people are expressing that they will support last Epoch instead of playing Path of Exile 2, given this choice from Grinding Your Games to launch 2 days after the launch of last Epoch's second season, which is just absolutely wild to me. It is very cool to see what last Epoch has done with just being out for a little over a year now. Oh my goodness, and that is it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel for more Path of Exile 2 content and beyond, and make sure to watch this video right here, which is about something Path of Exile 2 related, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Stay sane, Exiles.